Welcome back to the kickoff, and Manchester City have dropped 5 points off the top. Liverpool leading this title race, with Man City losing 4 games in a row under Pep Guardiola, including their Champions League defeat and the new Manchester United manager. It's all happening. And first of all, lads, I do want to give credit to Brighton. How the fuck they keep doing this? Season in, season out. Danny Welbeck still on his pension, just smashing them in. We got Pedro and O'Reilly both scoring off of the bench, and actually in the second half looking worth the win. What are we seeing from this Man City team? Is this the sort of a bit of a collapse that we're about to watch out this season?
Just quickly, before we move on from giving credit to Brighton, they're doing it with a manager that's how old?
He must be 12, because people don't go on 12? About it enough, to be honest.
Mate, no, but seriously, they are doing it with a manager that collected Pokemon cards. He was on MSN. He probably had a Bebo account. He played Beyblades at school. Like, it's ridiculous, mate. He
still had a fantastic hair transplant in that time, though. A credit to the surgeon. Great job.
It gives me hope that I could do something along those lines. But no, seriously, with Man
it's never too late, lads.
I think I read it was 894 games that Pep Guardiola has now managed, and this is the longest losing run he's had in 894 games.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, everyone's going to point to the fact that there's no Rodri, and I think that's like the obvious thing to say here. But it is more than that. When I was watching them this past few games, I just thought Erling Haaland's a bit out of form, and look, that can change any day. That can change. But the attacking midfielders, that we'd seen in years gone by, Kevin De Bruyne, he's still not 100% fit. Foden hasn't gone to the levels that we've seen him last season. And the other lads like Gundogan who's come in, he doesn't look like the old Gundogan. And most of all for me, that defense looks wide open, and players who normally back in the day, like Kyle Walker, who we'd be looking at as like the stalwart, like, you can rely on him. He's being targeted now. They're lumping balls right over the top and behind him, and it's getting through every fucking time. I've never seen, even under fucking other managers who've managed Man City, they've looked really bad lately.
It's almost the way that Pep speaks as well at the minute. It's like, see the thing where he said, maybe someone else deserves to win it. And it's like, I get it. Is that a subtle, message to rile up your players? Like, someone else will win it if you're not up for that. And Pep's obviously very good at, and I don't use this word in a negative way, but manipulation and stuff like that. And I'm sure the psychology of that comes into it, but he's even speaking a little bit deflated at the moment. But
empires have to end, though, don't they? Like, this
is it. And I feel like the walls are closing in a bit. The ceiling is closing in. He knows that, yes, okay, our lawyers and our accountants and all the things that I am not intelligent enough to understand might be able to get us out of some of this mess, but they're not going to be able to get us out of all of this. And even a 10-point deduction.
Did you see the way he went on at the end with the Brighton lad?
Right. Can I just say, right?
I'm done with that. I'm fucking done with that.
That pisses me off, and he does it all the time. And even when he's doing it in a positive way, even when he's doing it to Adama Traore and telling him whatever, right? From a boxing aspect here, yeah. My coach takes me to another gym for sparring. I thank him for the rounds after I'm done. Cheers, mate. Thanks for letting me use the gym. Shake hands, whatever. That coach doesn't come over to me and go, what you need to do is whatever. And the ones that do that are dickheads. I don't care how good you are. I don't like that. He's just slimy. He's always
patronising.
I know.
It's patronising, Joey. It's fucking horrible. And he's also like, I feel like it's part of the whole mystique of Guardiola. It's like, even if you beat me, I've got a second thing I want to tell you. And also that quote you say, Joe, about him saying, maybe it's someone else's turn. Before saying that, he did say, we have won it for the last 6 years. I feel like he was more keen to just remind everyone what he's done over the last few years before we all start slandering him. I think you have to say, like, they had a teenage centre-back against Brighton. And by the way, that is a fucking good Brighton team. I think we do this sometimes. We focus too much on the big clubs. We don't focus enough on the clubs that are beating them. That is a fucking good Brighton team. And that's a good manager there as well. They got, is it Baleba, the centre mid?
Baleba, yeah.
He's fucking mustard, mate.
He'd be going for 100 mil within about 6 months.
Well, mate, this is the thing. I mean, Arsenal need a sporting director at the moment, and I feel like saying to them, like, why don't you save yourself some money rather than keep buying loads of Brighton players for loads of fucking money? Just get the sporting director now.
We've already done it, Jacob. We've taken all the members of staff. You can't have any more. We've got them all already. You can't have any more.
Dan Ashworth as well. He was in there, wasn't he? Fuck me.
I'll just say about City, there is a rumour. There's a rumour going round that the people within City, including the players, are now aware of the charge that's coming and that tools are being downed a little bit. And when you say Empire's end, listen, if City don't win the title this year and maybe Liverpool do, maybe Arsenal do, but Pep Guardiola stays, the Empire's not ended. If they get hit with a big points deduction and Pep Guardiola goes and they lose, is it Chicky Bergerstrand, the sporting director that's just left as well?
Yep.
Empire's over, boys. Well, welcome back to Paul Dickoff territory. It's done. It's done.
So who leaves then? So who leaves? Does Haaland leave at the end of the season then? Who else goes?
Doesn't matter.
Do you not think?
Do you know the thing that no one's been talking about with City for quite a long time? They've been getting old for a while. They've been getting old for a while. Kyle Walker has been getting old under our eyes for a while.
34. Yeah.
Mate, what's like, where's Grealish?
To your point, Jacob, to your point, if you look in the last two games they played, in the second half, they faded massively. And around the hour mark, you've seen that they just didn't have the juice in the legs anymore. And another thing to your point is, look, it's whether you're playing against a team, and I said this last week, I think, if your team is, you're playing against a relegation team or you're playing against a team fighting for the title, no matter what, a team with a purpose are always way harder to overcome. And if City deep down do know, even if we do win the league this season, the points deduction is going to fuck it, we're not going to win the title anyway, well then, where is that championship mentality and spirit going to come from? And even as great a coach as Pep is, these players are very much fucking human. And as you said, I think the recruitment has actually been exposed a little bit when you look at because back in the day when they'd have injuries, yes, they'd have injuries, but it was sickening the level of quality that would immediately step in. And oh, by the way, they were also leaders. Now, when they have a couple of injuries, the drop off all of a sudden is far bigger than what we've ever seen before under Pep Guardiola. And
the recruitment's not bad, but it's like 50-50. I would say it's hit and miss. I'd say it's at that level now. And to be dominant champions as they have been, it needs to be better than 50-50. It needs to be 90% of the time you're recruiting well.
Have they not held back though? Have they not held back, Joey? Like, have they not intentionally known that they're going to be hit with this PSR stuff? They're worried about the court case and they don't want to go anywhere near the boundary, because if they do, then they're going to get even more slaps on the wrist than they already are. I feel they could spend far more than they do, and they've chosen not to.
Well, they secretly spent far more than they did on Haaland, and he was a hit, yeah? But at the same time, Savinho, he's looking good so far, but at the same time, Grealish, I am not saying Grealish has not been a hit, but he's not really in that system working all that well. And then when you look at the boy from
Joey, he wasn't a hit. When you look at the
boy from Wolves,
yeah, Nunes.
Mate, Nunes.
What about Grealish though? Have you heard about the stuff with Grealish? Have you heard about the stuff with Grealish where Pep's saying he's injured, and now he's saying I'm not injured, I'm going off with England? Or what, like unofficially, he hasn't completely contradicted him publicly, but it doesn't look right. And also, like, when they are struggling, why isn't Grealish getting the game? It's not like Foden's fucking tearing it up this season. It's a strange thing. And when you talk about replacing players, Josh might have a point, right? Because when in the history of Manchester City, since they became the money team that we've seen them become, have they let a player go and not replace them? And not replace them, by the way, with a better player again? Alvarez going out the door and leaving them with just Erling Haaland, to not have replaced him, it's fucking weird. Like, to Josh's point, it is odd that they didn't replace him.
Well, the fact of the matter is, go on, Jacob.
I'd also say Calvin Phillips. I'd just say they didn't replace Calvin Phillips. Now, I'm not saying Calvin Phillips is so good that you have to replace him, but you do need an understudy to Rodri, and are we not learning that this season? You boys knew Kovacic. Kovacic is a great football player. He is not a lone six in that system.
No.
And again,
not.
I'd agree. Weird that they didn't go for a different 6 to back up Rodri.
Well, when you're spending 400 grand a week on the best lawyer in the UK, it gets difficult to pay the wages. Like, if you're spending the money on the legal team, you've only got so much money to go, haven't you? You can't be buying another Calvin Phillips. Like, King's KC over there is making half the wage of Man City at the moment.
Can that lawyer play central defensive midfield?
He's tried, mate. He's tried, but he's more of a centre back. He's more of a centre back.
Double pivot. He's a double pivot.
we looking at the league table, obviously, right? We know Liverpool are a bit of an unknown quantity because of the Arnie slot factor, right? We don't know what this guy's made of, and he is going to be, at some point, you'd expect them to be pushed hard by Man City. But we were talking before we came on about the fixtures. Josh, do you have the Man City fixtures that they've got coming up? Because
I do.
They haven't actually had bad fixtures this season, despite dropping the points.
I do indeed. So the fixtures they've got coming up are Spurs next in the Premier League. Then they got Feyenoord in the Champions League. Then Liverpool away. Then they've got Nottingham Forest, high-flying Nottingham Forest. Then Palace. Then Juve away. And then Manchester United at the Etihad, followed by Aston Villa. So that's a really tough run.
A Ruben Amorim-led Manchester United, by the way.
A resurgent Man United.
Off the back of that Champions League game.
Easy. Not easy at all.
And you know what, guys, when we say about like Liverpool being an unknown quantity, and I'm going to contradict myself here because I've literally said it, right? But at the same time, when we talk about them being an unknown quantity, I feel like if it was like, do you remember the Luis Suarez days at Liverpool when it was like they would concede goals, but they would win matches 5-3? And stuff like that. Then it's like, right, okay, but there could be a time when potentially if the goals dry up a little bit or whatever, you're looking leaky. I think where they're looking so compact defensively as well, that is something that, yes, we won't get our answers till we get to the business end of the season, but that would give Liverpool fans a little bit more certainty that they aren't as much of an unknown quantity because they do look so well structured and so well organised.
I think we're being so harsh on Liverpool, I do think, but if we'd had this conversation before the start of the season and we were going, we're not quite sure whether Slot is going to be good enough. You look at the underlying stats, you looked at the goals they scored, you looked at the performances they've had. They've got one of the best centre-backs that's ever graced the Premier League. Kanate's come in and looking really strong. Trent Alexander-Arnold's still looking good. They've got one of the best goalkeepers in the league. Like, the midfielder is coming along. They're scoring goals. They've still got Mo Salah. I do think I don't know why, but we got this like blindness about how good Liverpool are. But to say that we've even got a title race, I think is a bit of a weird statement, Like, they're so
You've never been a great Dutch manager in the Premier League, mate. Sorry.
Okay.
No. Josh.
I think the thing is, Josh, it is about history, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about the fact that last season Liverpool finished 9 points behind Man City. So, over the course of the season, especially with an Erling Haaland in your team, it is always possible that City could catch them up. I take your point though, based on the way they're playing and the defending and attacking, Liverpool should fucking walk this. If they can carry on even to like 90% of where they are now, they should win the league. Because they've been unbelievable. I'm not disputing that.
So Jacob, how do you think that there's a race right now? Like what are you doing? Because I know you back your own team, but come on, you can't realistically say that you're in a title race. So then you're back in City, right? That must be it. You can't be saying that you're in a title race.
Well, I am saying that Arsenal are in the title race, and I'm also saying City are in the title race. In the same way that Arsenal and Manchester City were in the title race this time last year, whilst Tottenham Hotspur were preparing their DVDs of them winning the league, and we all remember what happened to them. I think Liverpool have been the best team in the Premier League so far this season. I also think in multiple games, I've seen them look a bit open, and I've seen them. I think they've had some good goalkeeping performances from two goalkeepers. I think they have the best forward line in the league comfortably. When you weigh up Jota, Salah, Diaz, Nunez, Gakpo, Chiesa's got one leg, but Harvey Elliott can play football. There are questions I've got over Liverpool.
Gravenberch performing really, really well.
Yeah.
You said about the goalkeeper there. You said about the goalkeeper there. That's
Jones has been great.
The best backup goalkeeper in the whole Premier League, isn't it?
He should be
comfortably.
Yeah.
Comfortably, and he will be number one next season. But that's my slight fear is we spoke about Liverpool, it being their last dance last season because Klopp was on his way. I think it's last dance this season because we know Trent is on his way. We don't know if Salah's sticking around. We don't really know if Van Dijk will stick around. I don't know when you've got question marks over the futures of so many big players. I don't know. We haven't seen that before, have we? Can you remember a team winning the Premier League with big question marks over their 3 best footballers? I don't think I can. And that it's one thing that Slot's got them playing and is playing in a really nice way of playing football, in a more controlled way of playing football than Klopp. Heads are up. Everything's good. I think they have had easier fixtures than Arsenal or City so far. The biggest challenge he's got is he's not involved in Trent's contract. He's not involved in Salah's future. What happens in March and April when potentially Trent's signing pre-contracts with Real Madrid? When Salah's looking at maybe does make that big move to Saudi Arabia, Barcelona are linked to him. That's the question for me. And look, we saw what happened to that Liverpool team in the run-in last year, and we spoke about it being Klopp leaving, and they've pushed all their emotional energy in. And this is none of this is to disrespect Liverpool. They have been the best team in the Premier League so far this season. But they've got to deal with things that Arsenal and City don't. City have got their own shit. City have got their own soap opera going on. And fuck me, that'd be a good documentary if the Amazon cameras could get in. But with Arsenal, it's laser focus. It's contract signed and it's a manager who knows what he wants to do. He's been hurt twice and he wants revenge. The camp is different at Liverpool and the camp is different at City. And that's my hope for Arsenal.
I think that there's a bit of an oversight a little bit for me when I'm listening to you, because I think to know that Pep Guardiola has never gone through a losing streak like this before, I think that tells you everything that you need to know about how bad City are right now. And it's not that they can't turn it round because they've got amazing footballers. That is possible. But the likelihood, I think, right now is Pep Guardiola isn't feeling like he is doing that. He looks more rattled than I've ever seen him since he came to the Premier League. I don't think that's a coincidence. And if we look back, years gone by when Arsenal have been in title races, it's usually because they've been leading them and they've failed when they've blown that lead. Arsenal on chasers. I don't see them catching anyone up. Not when they're prolific, not when the prolific centre forwards of Liverpool and City are just so much more potent than anything that they've got. Your defence keeps the title when you've got the lead to hold on to. They haven't got that. They need to go out and get that. I don't see them doing it. And when it comes to Liverpool, when they did win the title, they did it because they blew everyone away from the get-go and they won it by 18 points. They're halfway to that right now at 9 points. I think everyone should be terrified of Liverpool. And I think that the freshness of Slot's impact is being felt. And as much as I totally agree that we can't be like, it's all done and dusted now, because, we've not seen Arne Slot in the Premier League before. He's making a good first impression, and I feel like only Man City can catch them at this point. I don't see them blowing 9 points to an Arsenal team who have barely looked good this season in a single game of football I've watched. They've looked good in spells in games. I've never watched a single full game of football with Arsenal and thought, wow, what a performance. So for them to have a turnaround now and win a Premier League title, it would be the biggest turnaround in the history of the Premier League. I don't see it happening. It's just not logical. I'm not saying that fans shouldn't hope for it.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't see it happening, lads.
And in terms of Man City, if you were talking about Rodri coming back in a couple of weeks' time and, Oscar Bob coming back, who was looking so good before he got his serious injury, and then all of these other players being fit and available within weeks, you'd sort of go, okay, yeah, I can understand how they have a chance. Rodri's out for the entire year. Rodri's going to be nowhere near. So, I just don't understand how we can even say that Man City are going to progress. I think there's a chance that Man City continue in their poor form. I could see it. So, yeah, I mean, look, they've got a lot of work to do.
It's just whether or not Liverpool can keep up what they're doing, I guess. That's the real question for me. I don't think City at all are going to be the force they were last season, and neither are Arsenal. It's just whether or not Liverpool can keep up what they're doing.
Did you think, Jacob, that, honest truth, did you think that you were going to go into the game today and beat Chelsea?
Hand on heart, no.
No, right. So that's all I need. That's all I need. I don't need an explanation. And I think that's logical, right? Did I go in thinking we were going to beat Arsenal? I was optimistic, but I think that if you ask most neutrals, I think they'd go, tough match, could see Arsenal dropping some points there, right? So off the back of knowing that there's a high potential that Arsenal could drop points, they've already seen Man City drop points. I think that not only are we seeing a well-oiled system and a very well-drilled systematic approach from Arne Slot's Liverpool, I also think we're seeing a bit of mentality here where it's like, right, we can smell a bit of blood here. We've already had one result go our way. We're anticipating that we could have more points dropped. And against Aston Villa, who, let's remember, were phenomenal last season. And they're still decent enough now, I think, to go and put the statement victory in that they did there. I think that shows that these boys have got some real good mentality this season. And the question marks we have about the running, about when the games come thick and fast over Christmas and whatnot, a lot of that does come down to, yes, having luck to not have crucial injuries and stuff like that. But a lot of it comes down to what's up here. And I think that we're seeing, and maybe in some cases even overseeing or underplaying that mentality that is there in that Liverpool team at the moment.
One thing that's going to give us a very clear answer, lads, is December 1st, Liverpool versus Man City at Anfield. If Liverpool win that game and everything stays as it is until that point, that could be crushing to the rest of the Premier League for sure. We'll wrap it up there. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the Kickoff and all the lads' channels below. Thanks a lot.